Welcome to Magic Arcanum. I'm Ryan Gomez. Behind the scenes is Nicole Burdick, and we're so glad you're here because it's story time. And it's a very special story time because it's another episode of Story Beats, where I take one of these story decks as provided by Wizards of the Coast. You can find the link down below, and I put that list through its paces on Magic Arena. So today we've got Brawl at the Ball, a red and white deck featuring Ash crashing a party where everyone is celebrating their victory against the Phyrexian invaders. Here is the official description. Grab your fanciest armor and best sword because it's time for the Brawl. Join Ash at the celebration of the year where fun times are for all, including the Red Caps. Help the feast goers expel the party-crashing goblins, or just enjoy the chaos. This deck makes use of the new celebration mechanic to trigger effects if 2 or more permanents enter the battlefield this turn. I need to point out here that that last line is technically incorrect because celebration only triggers when non-land permanents enter the battlefield, so be mindful of that. The notable cards here are Ash, Party Crasher, the Signpost Legendary Uncommon to show off this color combination's draft potential, Gallant Pie Wielder, and a rare land. So that's our game plan. Here's the rest of the deck. The first thing that jumps out to me here is how high the curve is for what is supposed to be an aggressive deck. We have no 1-drops. This becomes a real problem when you remember that this deck needs things to enter the battlefield 2 at a time, and it's very hard to get a turn where you can do that when most of your cards cost 2 or 3 mana. The story that this deck is trying to tell is an adaptation of Cinderella, going to the ball, meeting a charming prince, leaving behind a glass slipper. You know how it goes. But here on Eldraine, that party is being hosted by dwarves, and they don't usually allow humans into their festivities. So Ash disguises herself in armor and tries to pass herself off as a soldier who helped defeat the Phyrexians. Inside the party, she meets Goddric, and the two of them have a great time together until a bunch of goblins and ogres show up. Ash then tries to prove she is worthy of the armor by stepping in to protect Goddric, who reveals, "Nah, it's cool. I'm actually quite capable. I'm a dragon in disguise myself." And then at the stroke of midnight, Ash leaves the party and drops her helmet, which leaves us to wonder if Goddric will use it to track her down. Meanwhile, I am left wondering if we can possibly win with this deck. We have a very high curve, we have very little removal or card draw, and we have no way to reliably trigger our celebration. So will Ash have a good time at the ball, or will it all come crashing down when the clock strikes 12? Let's find out in today's Story Beats. Okay, here we go. First game with Brawl at the Ball. We actually have both colors and some of our cheaper spells. I don't think it gets much better than this, so we're going to keep it. And then I think we're opening with our tapped Restless Bivouac? Bivouac. We'll follow that up with the Skewer Slinger? Skewer Slinger. Okay, I gotta read the cards. So this is a 1/3 with reach for 2 mana, which is fine. And then when it blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, it deals 1 damage to that creature, which actually seems alright. This is probably one of the better cards in the deck and maybe one of the better commons in Eldraine. I don't know. We have a enchantment food fight, which we could talk about. Or we could just slam Goddric here and attack. I think that's what we're going to do. We want to be as aggressive as possible. And our opponent only has a Spellbook Vendor, which is a cool card, but it doesn't block either of these and live. So they're taking 4. And that's a pretty good opener. As far as where we go next, I don't really know. Our opponent has Catilda. Very cool. So they got flying, lifelink, protection from vampires. Joke's on them. We don't have any of those. And so now we're up to 4 mana. We've got Food Fight, which gives artifacts we control 2. Sacrifice this artifact. It deals damage to any target equal to 1 plus the number of permanents named food fight you control, but it doesn't make any food or anything itself, so playing this doesn't give us two things. We could animate our land, and when it attacks it becomes a 2/2. I guess that's good. I mean, we get to put a counter on something, so I think we put the counter on the land, so it becomes a 3/3, so they can't trade it off with the vendor, and they take all the damage. They're down to 9. They do have a life linker though, which is going to draw this game out, and we are kind of shy on removal, I'll say generously. We do have Expel the Interlopers, a board wipe that's going to destroy all creatures with power greater than or equal to the chosen number. So, well, we can use that to get rid of Catilda, I guess. After she gains them 6 life. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I feel like we kind of have to do that. Otherwise, she's just going to keep gaining life. So, all creatures with power greater than or equal to 4? And then they take another 4. Alright, well, we got rid of Catilda, although she can be cast as an aura out of the graveyard if they want to do that. But instead they're doing Twin Blade Geist, and they're just slamming auras down to buff that up. 2/2 with Double Strike. Pretty dangerous. Okay. So amazingly, we're actually drawing pretty hot with this deck. We picked up Cut In, which deals 4 damage to target creature, and then we get to put a Young Hero roll on somebody. Not really sure where we're supposed to put that. We don't have any great targets for it, because it's... I mean, I guess we put it on Goddric. Even though he's about to become a 4/4, so it's not going to do anything. Alright, opponent down to 6, but again, they can use Catilda's Rising Dawn. Nope, they're just going to Twin Blade Invocation, their Spellbook Vendor. They get to attack, they get to scry, they're going to deal 6 damage to us. Okay, but we're not dead. We pick up another Goddric, which doesn't help us. But we do have Stockpiling Celebrant, so when this enters the battlefield, you may return another target non-land permanent, so we can actually just pick our food fight back up. We'll keep Stroke of Midnight. I don't think we need the land. So, but now, if we just play Food Fight, Goddric becomes a 4/4. Oof, and he's got Fire Breathing. We can do 5 damage. We won't be able to to kill them. But I mean, I guess it's worth putting them to 1. Well, I think we're still, like, not winning this, because all they have to do is give their Double Striker lifelink, and they gain back a ton of life. But they don't do it before combat for some reason. They just pass out some more auras. Okay. So Spellbook Vendor has Double Strike, but it doesn't have Trample, so we can chump block that, and we can kill the Shrouded Shepherd. And opponent scoops it up. I cannot believe Brawl at the Ball actually won a game. That was insane. Let's see if we can do it again. Alright, here we go. Game 2 with Brawl at the Ball. Again, we got our basics in both colors. We've got 2s and 3s. I don't think this deck can do much better, so it'd be helpful if Goddric shows up again. I mean, he won us our first game, but I'm okay with some Skewer Slingers, Stockpiling Celebrants, Belligerent at the Ball, and there's Goddric. Oh man, alright, well, I think the party's getting started now, right? That's what we asked for. Probably one of the better cards in the deck. Opponent with Azusa's Many Journeys, doing a little ramping, some saga action. All right, I didn't ask for 2 Goddrics. So do I just slam this and attack now with it? Get in while we can? I guess so. Problem now is that, like, next turn there's no way to drop 2 things and trigger Celebration. Like, this deck just can't do it. Even if we pick up a 4th land, we don't have 2 1-drops. Or 2 2-drops, rather. We certainly don't have 2 1-drops. We don't have any of those. Alright, so we do get a 4th land. Opponent with a 3/3, though. So what do we do here? I guess we just put the Belligerent down and pass. And now next turn, if we find a 5th land, we could do the Celebrant, the Slinger, and pop off with a Celebration. It would be a really good turn. But it's so dependent on drawing a non-tapped land. It can't be our Restless Rare land, because that actually won't do it. We gotta find another one of our basics. Or another 2-mana spell, I guess, would be fine. Alright, opponent has flipped their Saga into Likeness of the Seeker. 5 cards in hand. Boards are pretty evenly matched. They've got plenty of mana to work with, though. And more cards in hand. And they go with Nissa! Okay. First toxic card we've seen from the opponent. And they come at us with their 3/3. I think we're okay just taking that hit. And we find a 5th untapped land. Guys, did I hack the Matrix or what? Alright, so we play Slinger. We play Celebrant. And I guess we return that Slinger, which lets us scry. Okay. Another Celebrant and Armory Mouse. Those are both useful. I think I'm going to keep them exactly like that, actually. Alright, we get to give somebody Menace. So now we've got a Menacing 4/4 and a Flying 4, or a Menacing 4/3 and a Flying 4/4. Do we make them give up Nissa? I mean, I guess, right? Opponent drops another land, and I guess they probably didn't really need Nissa if they already have that many lands. So now if they attack with anything, I probably trade off with the Celebrant. Whenever this becomes blocked, untap up to 3 lands. Yeah, I think I'm alright just getting rid of that, since they don't get the ramp benefit from it. This Stalker is an interesting inclusion. Is it just for the stat pile? A 3/1 for 2 mana? They're not... Oh, they do have some other toxic cards. Okay. Alright, well. So we could do our second copy of Goddric. And our Armory Mice, which is our 3/1 for 2. We get to attack with a Hasty Flyer. Alright. Opponent drops Besage You, which is going to get them 2 more basic forests out of their deck. They're not really hurting for lands. They're also not under a ton of pressure from us right now, though, either. And Many Journeys will let them play extra land. Okay. Alright, so we pick up our Stockpiling Celebrant. So we're going to do the same trick where we do Skewer, then Celebrant, return the Skewer, scry again. What are these guys? 2/2 for 2. Gets +1 and trample on a celebration. I guess we're okay drawing one of those, but I don't think I want two. So now do we just... Man, I guess we're attacking with both of these. Force them to either trade or take a bunch of damage. Alright, I'm happy with that. I mean, we know next turn we're going to be able to get Goddric flying again, so... We just have to weather whatever attacks they make against us. And when this Besage flips over, that is going to be a problem, because it'll have reach and it'll be huge. And that'll stop Goddric. So, unfortunately, our deck doesn't really have a lot of great ways to deal with that. So I guess we're just going to drop two non-land permanents again. Try to keep some more pressure on them. Alright, so they get to proliferate. They're gonna, what, up their sagas? No, they don't even do that. Okay. Alright, so everything flips over. They now have an 8/8 with reach, so Goddric is not getting around that, but we might be able to just attack through. Not if we're drawing mountains. Alright. And land, say, go. Yeah, unfortunately, this is where we kind of start to run out of steam. We don't really have any ways to draw cards. They have found another Besage, so even if we hit one of our Stroke of Midnights and destroy this one, there's going to be another one right behind it. Alright, so they are attacking. I mean... I guess we didn't have to block there. We could have just took the 10. Cut in. Well, that does let us get rid of something. So we'll try to kill Likeness of the Seeker. And now if we get to attack with Goddric here, he's got the Young Hero roll, and he only has 3 toughness, so he picks up a +1/+1 counter. And then he gets destroyed. Okay, well... Now we're in a rough spot. Opponent finds another creature, Ravenous Gigamole. So a little bit of a self-mill thing happening here. Alright, they come in with the 11/11. I'm going to say no blocks on this one. And we hit another land. Okay. So now even if we... No, I guess we can survive one more turn if we chump block. Well, all of our blocks are chump blocks now. Yeah, so we can block there, we can block there. We take 3, go to 3, but we lose both of our creatures. Even a hasty Goddric doesn't help us here. Yeah, I think our board wipe was our only real out there, and there's only 1 copy in the deck, and cut in doesn't do it. Alright, we'll give him the sad Hedron. Good game, opponent. Let's see if the party continues in game 3. Okay, once more, Brawl at the ball. This time we've got Ash and Goddric, you know, exactly as it happens in the story, so I think we're keeping it. We're going to start with this Evolving Wilds, obviously. Cash that in for a mountain, so we'll be able to eventually play our Goddric. Opponent opened with a Restless Cottage. I think we're up against a green-black food deck here. That could be fun. So we could play Ash. She'd be a 2/2 with haste. They would probably just block with the Minstrosity. So I think instead we'll just play our Armory Mice. And so these are the mice that steal the armor and give it to Ash to equip her for the party. Kind of a, you know, like Cinderella's friends with the birds and all the, the critters who help her get ready. Alright, opponent used the Lochthwain Scorn to just kill our mice. That was brutal. Now they get to hit us for 3. Alright, so we drew Food Fight, which doesn't really do anything. We could just play our 3/3 Goddric and then not block with it against this Minstrosity. I guess we're going to actually use this Belligerent of the Ball. 3 mana, 3/3 Ogre Warrior. See if he survives. Opponent plays the Sweet Tooth Saga, makes a human token. Fine. And they come in with their 3/3. And when that dies, it's going to make a food token, and this puts counters on stuff equal to food tokens, so I think we're not blocking this. Ugh. Really hurts when you're the aggro deck and you're have less life than your opponent. Alright, so we could drop Food Fight and Battle Garb, or Ash and Battle Garb, and attack for quite a bit. Maybe that's the play. Try to turn the tables on our opponent here. I mean, I guess we'll give himself that and give her that. I don't think it super matters. Ash gets a counter, so they chump block on the 5. Yeah, I figured. Alright, well, opponent might be stuck on 3 lands here. Really unfortunate that cut in is a sorcery. Alright, we've got 5 lands. Is that enough to do Goddric and a Food Fight? Okay. We get our celebration. I guess we actually just equip everything to Ash and give her the Menace. And attack for a lot. Okay, opponent still has food, so they can gain back a lot of life, and they're going to throw a ton of counters on somebody, so now our Belligerent's going to probably have to chump block this turn. And we are pretty much out of cards in hand. We're not going to be able to make Goddric fly next turn. Oh my gosh, they use the apple to just steal our Ash. Okay, so that is bad. So I guess we're gonna block their biggest thing, take 9, go to 2, but they're out of mana and they're tapped out. So I think we just win again. This deck is not supposed to be winning so many games. I don't understand it. All right, well, that is 2-1 for Brawl at the Ball. Let's put the deck back up on screen and do some final thoughts. Okay, Brawl at the Ball. Interesting performance. Got to admit, I was not expecting this one to win any games, but I don't know if our opponents just kind of punted or felt overwhelmed by the speed at which we hit our celebrations. The deck did better than I had expected. That said, there is still probably lots of opportunities to upgrade this one, so let's take a look. First thing I always recommend is your lands. Battlefield Forge, probably better than Evolving Wilds. We don't really have a turn 1 play, but drawing Evolving Wilds, anything past turn 1 is really going to slow you down. And since you are the aggressive deck, you're trying to attack and win fast anyway, having access to both of our colors at the cost of just 1 self-damage seems fine. You know, I would certainly replace at least the Evolving Wilds with these forges, maybe even replace the restless lands as well, but that one you could make a case to keep because having a land that becomes a creature is still probably worth keeping, but it's up to you. Beyond that, though, man, I feel like this deck wants more permanence, right? Like if we're trying to get 2 or more things in play on a turn, something like Resolute Reinforcements makes a soldier and then a token, so it's 1 card for just 2 mana that gets you 2 permanents entering the battlefield. So that by itself seems really good, and these could be flavored as, you know, soldiers at the party jumping in to defend against the ogres and the red caps or whatever. If you want to keep the flavor, that's not a huge flavor break. I also think we need more, I call it velocity, but card draw, even though this version of red card draw isn't really adding the cards to your hand, but Witch's Mark is still an Eldraine card. It does create a permanent, you know, getting that wicked roll on somebody could be good, and this lets us maybe ditch an extra land to pick up 2 more cards. Well, I guess this does draw you the cards. I was thinking this is one of those ones that exiles them and you only get to play them for the turn or whatever. But no, this would be card draw, although you got to discard 1 to draw 2, so you're card neutral. That's a whole different debate. Anyway, Witch's Mark, I think you could make room for in here. It's still flavorful and could represent, you know, somebody kind of pulling strings behind the scenes at the party. Seal from Existence, probably better than Cut In, although this does have our 2 main characters on it, but it's sorcery and only 4 damage and only to creatures, whereas Seal can get rid of, you know, anything, planeswalkers, artifacts, whatever, non-land permanents, and then it's a permanent itself. So if you combine this with like a 2-drop on turn 5 or 6, hey, you're hitting your celebrations. And then maybe Fateful Absence, kind of as a playful twist on the, you know, stroke of midnight, I gotta get out of here kind of a joke. It's like, where did Ash go? Obviously, you're going to use this to remove an opponent's problematic, you know, creature or planeswalker, and it is giving them a token and rather than helping you, but having ways to just get those blockers out of there so that Goddric can get in past a Besage, or Ash can attack and pick up the counter for herself. You know, those are important things. Otherwise, I don't know. Aggressive decks are hard, and this one really goes all in on getting 2 things in play on a given turn, and when it works great. When it doesn't work, feels terrible. So lots of ways you could tweak this one. I'm always curious to hear what ideas you guys have, so leave those down in the comments. Check out the link to the whole story deck list, you know, dumping ground that Wizards gave us. They've got 15 of these on there. We've got a few more left to do in this series. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun. But if you like it too, you gotta like this video and then subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the great stories you'll only find here on Magic Arcanum. We'll see ya.